The giant space station called Nexus Prime floated like a metal city among the stars. Inside its main meeting room, creatures from different worlds sat around a huge table. The room buzzed with strange sounds, clicks, whistles, and electronic hums as the aliens talked to each other. Commander Timon walked into the room with his team behind him. He wore the blue uniform of Earth's Emergency Response Division. His black hair was cut short and neat. His dark eyes looked calm, but inside, he felt nervous. This was humanity's first big chance to help in a galactic emergency. Behind him walked his 4 team members. Sora was their best pilot. She had flown rescue missions through Earth's worst storms. Her small hands were steady, and her eyes were sharp. Wu Jin was their engineer. He could fix anything with whatever parts he could find. Hyojin was their medic. She had saved lives in wars and disasters across Earth. Dong Ho was their communications expert. He could make radios work when everything else failed. The aliens around the table looked at the humans with cold interest. Some looked annoyed. The Vorthak were tall creatures made of living crystal. Their bodies sparkled like diamonds, but they were hard and sharp. Their leader, Krextal, stood 8 feet tall. When he spoke, his voice sounded like glass breaking. "So these are the humans," he said. "They look very soft." The Delani looked like giant jellyfish that could walk on land. Their bodies were clear and filled with blue liquid. Fluxara, their representative, spoke through a machine that turned her water sounds into words. "They are quite small," she said. "And they appear to be made mostly of water and weak materials." The third group was the strangest. The Quilith were beings made of pure energy. They looked like glowing ghosts that changed shape constantly. Voltan flickered between blue and white as he examined the humans. "Interesting," his electronic voice said. "They burn very easily, I assume." Taman stepped forward and bowed, politely. "Thank you for allowing us to attend this emergency meeting," he said in clear English. The translation machines around the room turned his words into alien languages. "Earth's Emergency Response Division is ready to help with the crisis on Kepler 442b. A hologram appeared above the table. It showed a planet covered in orange and red flames. The fires were not normal fires. They were plasma fires that burned at over 3,000 degrees. They covered most of the planet's surface. Deep underground, 847 miners were trapped in the burning mines. Krextal's crystal body made sharp clicking sounds. "The situation is very dangerous," he said. "These plasma fires would melt your human ships in seconds. Your bodies would turn to ash before you could even get close." Fluxara's blue form rippled. "The temperatures are far beyond what organic life can survive," she said through her translator. "Even our advanced cooling systems are having trouble." Voltan flickered brighter. "Young species often think they can help in situations beyond their abilities," he said. "It is a common mistake. We appreciate your offer, but this requires experienced professionals." Taman kept his face calm, but his jaw tightened a little. "We understand the dangers," he said, "but Earth has experience with extreme fire situations. We have fought forest fires, oil fires, and volcanic emergencies. We have equipment and methods that might help." The aliens exchanged looks. Some made sounds that might have been laughter. Krextal raised one crystal arm. "Humans," he said slowly, like he was talking to children. "Your planet's fires burn at maybe 1,000 degrees. These plasma fires burn at 3,000 degrees. That is 3 times hotter. Do you understand the difference?" "We have studied the data," Taman replied. "We know it will be difficult, but sometimes different approaches work better than expected." Fluxara's tentacles moved in what looked like dismissal. "Your technology is centuries behind ours," she said. "Your ships are slow and crude. Your equipment is basic. What could you possibly do that we cannot?" Sora stepped forward. Her pilot uniform was covered with patches from dangerous missions on Earth. "Sometimes basic equipment works when fancy equipment fails," she said quietly. Voltan's energy form pulsed with what seemed like amusement. "How charming," he said. The young species thinks simple tools are better than advanced technology. Wu Jin spoke up next. His engineer's hands were stained with oil and metal dust. We have seen complex systems fail when simple systems keep working, he said. Maybe we could try different methods. The alien council members looked at each other. Again, their expressions, as much as aliens could have expressions, showed they thought the humans were foolish. Krextal made a decision. Very well, he said. You may observe our rescue operations. Perhaps you will learn something useful for future emergencies involving less dangerous situations. Hyejin frowned. Observe? She asked. What about the trapped miners? Every minute we wait, more of them might die. The miners will be rescued by proper rescue teams, Fluxara said firmly. Teams with equipment that can actually survive the conditions. Dongho checked his communication device. The last signal from the miners was 12 hours ago, he said. Their air supply might be running low. All the more reason to use experienced teams, Voltan said. Not untested humans with primitive equipment. Taemin tried one more time. Please, he said, let us help. Even if we can only carry supplies or provide support, we want to help save those miners. Krextal's crystal form dimmed slightly. Humans, he said, you may watch from the observation deck. You will see how real rescue operations work. Perhaps someday when your species is more advanced, you can participate in minor support roles. The dismissal was clear. The humans were being told to sit in the corner and watch while the adults handled the real work. Taemin bowed again, but his eyes flashed with anger for just a moment. Thank you for the opportunity to observe, he said. We will watch very carefully. As the human team was led to the observation deck, the aliens began planning their rescue mission. They spoke in confident voices about their advanced ships and sophisticated equipment. They seemed certain that this would be an easy operation for such advanced species. On the observation deck, the human team looked down at the alien rescue ships preparing to launch. The ships were beautiful and sleek. They glowed with energy shields and advanced technology. They think we're children, Sora said quietly. Let them think that, Taemin replied. We'll watch everything they do. We'll learn from their mistakes. You think they'll make mistakes? Wu Jin asked. Taemin looked at the burning planet on the main screen. Everyone makes mistakes, he said. The question is whether we'll get a chance to do better. Hyejin was already studying the medical reports about the trapped miners. 847 people, she said softly. 847 people who need help. And they're going to get it, Dongho said firmly. One way or another. The alien rescue ships launched toward the burning planet below. The humans watched from their assigned seats, officially just observers. But in their minds they were already planning. They were studying the fires, the rescue approaches, and the alien techniques. They had been dismissed as primitive and useless, but humans had a long history of proving people wrong when lives were at stake. The rescue operation was about to begin, and the humans were ready to learn everything they could from whatever was about to happen next. 3 days passed. 3 long days of watching the alien rescue teams fail again and again. Taemin and his team sat in the observation deck, watching the big screens that showed the rescue operations. The screens displayed data about ship movements, temperature readings, and rescue attempts. But the most important number kept growing worse. 0 miners rescued. On the first day, the Vorthak had been confident. Their crystal ships were beautiful and strong. They sparkled like diamonds as they flew toward the burning planet. Our crystal technology can handle any temperature, Krextal had announced proudly. We will have the miners out in a few hours. But the plasma fires were not like normal fires. They changed temperature very quickly. One moment they burned at 2,000 degrees. The next moment they jumped to 4,000 degrees. Then they dropped back down to 1,500 degrees. The Vorthak crystal ships could not handle these fast changes. Crystal was strong, but it was also rigid. When the temperature changed too quickly, the crystal began to crack. Sora watched the first Vorthak ship on the main screen. Look at that, she said quietly to her team. The hull is starting to split. On the screen, thin lines appeared across the beautiful crystal surface of the Vorthak rescue ship. The lines grew longer and deeper as the ship tried to fly through. The plasma firestorms. Crystal Ship Alpha is reporting structural damage, came the announcement from the control room. They are pulling back to safe distance. The second Vorthak ship tried a different approach. It flew higher, trying to avoid the worst of the temperature changes. But the plasma fires reached up like giant fingers, grabbing at the ship with waves of superheated gas. More cracks appeared. This time, pieces of crystal actually broke off and fell toward the planet. Crystal Ship Beta is also retreating, the announcement said. Major hull damage reported. Krextal's crystal body dimmed with embarrassment. The thermal variations are unexpected, he said. Our technology requires more stable conditions. The Vorthak ships limped back to the space station. 2 ships damaged, 0 miners rescued. On the second day, it was the Delaney's turn to try. Fluxara had been very confident about her people's abilities. Water can put out any fire, she had said. Our cooling systems are the most advanced in the galaxy. The Delaney ships looked like giant water balloons with engines. They carried massive tanks of special cooling liquid. Their plan was simple: spray cooling liquid on the fires, create safe paths, and rescue the miners. But plasma fires were not ordinary fires. When the Delaney cooling liquid hit the plasma, something terrible happened. The liquid turned to steam, instantly. But this was not normal steam. It was superheated steam under enormous pressure. The steam expanded so fast that it created shock waves. Wu Jin watched the readings with growing alarm. Those pressure waves are huge, he told his team. They're like bombs going off. On the screen, they could see the first Delaney ship spraying its cooling liquid onto the plasma fires. Immediately, giant clouds of steam erupted from the planet's interior surface. The steam was so thick that it blocked all visibility. We cannot see anything, came the radio call from the Delaney ship. The steam clouds are too dense. But worse than the visibility problem were the pressure waves. The steam explosions created shock waves that traveled down into the mines. Deep underground, mine tunnels that had survived the plasma fires began to collapse. Emergency signal from Mining Section D, Dong Ho reported, listening to his radio. Equipment. They're reporting tunnel collapses. The pressure waves are bringing down the mine shafts. Hee-Jin looked horrified. They're making it worse, she said. The miners were safer before the rescue attempt. The second Delaney ship tried to help by spraying cooling liquid in a different pattern. But the result was the same. More steam. More pressure waves, more tunnel collapses. Delaney rescue fleet is pulling back, came the announcement. The cooling operations are causing structural damage to the mine complex. Fluxara's blue form rippled with distress. Our calculations did not account for the pressure wave effects, she admitted. We need to recalculate our approach. 3 Delaney ships returned to the station. 0 miners rescued. And now some miners who had been safe were trapped by collapsed tunnels. On the 3rd day, the Quilith energy beings made their attempt. Voltan flickered with confidence. Physical matter has failed, he said. But energy can go where matter cannot. We will phase through the fires and reach the miners directly. The Quilith had no ships in the normal sense. They flew as pure energy, moving through space like living lightning. Their plan was to use their energy forms to pass through the plasma fires without being affected. It seemed like a good plan. Energy beings should be able to handle energy fires, right? Wrong. The plasma fires were also made of energy. When the Quilith rescue team flew into the plasma fields, their energy forms began to interact with the fire energy. It's like feedback. Dong Ho explained to his team as they watched the energy readings spike on the monitors. Their energy forms are getting mixed up with the fire energy. On the screen, they could see the Quilith rescuers as bright spots of light. But as they got closer to the plasma fires, the bright spots began to flicker and change shape. Quilith rescue team leader is reporting form instability, came the worried announcement from the control room. Voltan's energy form, which had been a steady blue-white glow, began to pulse wildly. Sometimes he was bright blue. Sometimes he was red. Sometimes he flickered so fast between colors that he looked like a broken light bulb. The plasma energy is disrupting our quantum matrices, Voltan's voice said. but it sounded strange and distorted. We are having difficulty maintaining coherent form. The other Quilith rescuers were having the same problem. Their energy forms were being scrambled by the plasma fires. Instead of passing through safely, they were being torn apart at the energy level. Emergency recall, Krextal announced. All Quilith units return to safe distance immediately. The energy beings fled from the planet, their forms flickering like candles in a strong wind. One of them, a rescuer named Zephyron, almost dispersed completely. His energy form scattered into tiny sparks before he managed to pull himself back together. Medical team to Bay 7, came the announcement. Quilith rescuer requires energy stabilization treatment. 3 days, 3 different rescue attempts, 3 complete failures. In the observation deck, the human team had watched it all. They had taken notes, they had studied the data, they had seen every mistake. The Vorthak technology is too rigid, Wu Jin said quietly. It can't adapt to changing conditions. The Delani approach creates more problems than it solves, Hyojin added. They're fighting the fire with the wrong methods. And the Quilith didn't understand that their energy forms would interact with the plasma, Dongho observed. Sora was studying the flight patterns on her tablet. They're all trying to force their way through the fires, she said. But look, at these thermal currents, the fires are creating air currents that could be used for navigation. Taemin nodded slowly. They're fighting against the fires instead of working with them. On the main screen, new casualty reports appeared. 17 miners had died from smoke inhalation. Many more were running out of air in the collapsed tunnels. Time was running out fast. In the alien council chamber, an emergency meeting was taking place. The 3 species were arguing with each other. Your crystal ships were supposed to be indestructible, Fluxara accused Krextal. Your cooling systems made the situation worse, Krextal shot back. At least we didn't almost lose a team member permanently, Voltan said, his form still flickering unstably. The arguments went on for hours. Each species blamed the others. None of them wanted to admit that their advanced technology had failed completely. Finally, Krextal made an announcement that shocked everyone. We may need to consider the miners lost. The plasma fires are beyond our current rescue capabilities. The observation deck. The humans heard this announcement. 847 people. 847 lives that the most advanced species in the galaxy were ready to give up on. Taemin stood up. His calm face was now determined and hard. No, he said quietly. His team looked at him. No, he said again louder. We're not giving up on those people. What are you thinking? Sora asked. Taemin looked at the burning planet on the screen. I'm thinking it's time to ask for permission to try our primitive human methods. Hyojin smiled grimly. They'll probably say no. Then we'll ask again, Taemin said. And if they say no again, we'll keep asking until they say yes. What if they never say yes? Wu Jin asked. Taemin's eyes were like steel. Then we'll find another way. Because that's what humans do. We don't give up when lives are at stake. The 3 days of watching alien failures were over. Now it was time for the humans to prove what they could do. And Taemin walked into the alien council chamber with steady steps. His team followed behind him. The aliens looked tired and frustrated after 3 days of failed rescue attempts. Krextal's crystal body was dim with exhaustion. Fluxara's blue form moved slowly. Voltan flickered weakly, still recovering from his near-dispersal experience. Honored council members, Taemin said politely, we request permission to attempt a rescue mission. The chamber fell silent. Then Krextal made a sound like breaking glass. It might have been laughter. Humans, Krextal said slowly, we have just witnessed the failure of the most advanced rescue technologies in the galaxy. Our crystal ships, the Delani cooling systems, and Quilith energy manipulation all failed. What makes you think your primitive equipment can succeed? Taemin kept his voice calm and respectful. Because sometimes different approaches work where standard methods fail. We have studied your attempts carefully. We think we might try different tactics. Fluxara's tentacles waved in what looked like disbelief. Your ships are centuries behind our technology. Your equipment is basic metal and ceramic. The plasma fires will destroy you in minutes. Maybe, Taemin admitted, but 847 people are still alive down there. Every hour we wait, more of them die. Isn't it worth trying? Voltan flickered brighter for a moment. You would risk your lives on a plan that will almost certainly fail? That's what rescue workers do, Sora said quietly. We risk our lives to save others. The aliens looked at each other. They had long discussions in their own languages. Finally, Krextal spoke. Very well, he said. You may make one attempt. One only. When you fail, there will be no more rescue missions. We cannot risk more lives on impossible missions. We understand, Taemin said. Thank you for this chance. As the humans left the council chamber, they could hear the aliens talking behind them. This is foolish, Fluxara was saying. We will just be watching more deaths. At least it will prove that some problems cannot be solved, Krextal replied. Perhaps they will learn something useful before they die, Voltan added. The humans ignored the comments. They had work to do. In their assigned hangar bay, the human team began preparing for their mission. What they did next confused everyone who watched them. Instead of upgrading their equipment, they started taking things apart. Wu Jin worked on their shuttle first. The aliens had given them heat shields made from advanced crystal composite materials. These shields were supposed to be the best protection available. Wu Jin removed them all. What are you doing? Asked a Vorthak engineer who was watching. Those heat shields are rated for 4,000-degree temperatures. They're too rigid, Wu Jin explained as he pulled off another panel. When they get hit with rapid temperature changes, they crack, just like your ships did. He replaced the advanced shields with older human-made ceramic tiles. The tiles looked rough and simple compared to the crystal shields. Those primitive tiles will only protect you up to 2,500 degrees, the Vorthak engineer said. You will die. These tiles bend and flex, Wu Jin said. They absorb heat shock instead of breaking from it. Sometimes flexible is better than strong. The Vorthak engineer walked away, shaking his crystal head in disbelief. Sora was working on the shuttle's flight systems. She was studying the atmospheric data from the planet below. The data showed the plasma fires created massive air currents and thermal winds. Look at these patterns, she said to her team. The fires are creating updrafts and downdrafts like a giant weather system. The alien pilots tried to fly straight through the turbulence, Dong Ho observed. They fought against the air currents. That's their mistake, Sora said. You don't fight thermal currents, you ride them. Like surfing, but with fire instead of water. She began programming new flight paths into the shuttle's computer. Instead of straight lines, her routes followed the curved patterns of the thermal winds. A Delaney pilot watched her work. Your flight paths are very inefficient, the pilot said through her translator. You are taking the long way to every destination. Sometimes the long way is the safe way, Sora replied. And sometimes it's actually faster because you're working with the air instead of against it. Hyejin was preparing the medical equipment. The aliens had offered her their most advanced medical devices. Instead, she packed simple, basic supplies. She filled bags with simple oxygen masks, basic bandages, and bottles of clean water. Most surprising of all, she packed dozens of regular cloth towels. What are those for? Asked a Delaney medic. Our medical systems can regulate body temperature much more efficiently than primitive cloth. Wet towels, Hyejin explained. You soak them in water and put them on burn victims. The water evaporates slowly and cools the skin. It's simple, but it works. That is very basic, the Delaney medic said. Basic methods work when complex systems fail, Hyejin said. Wet towels don't need power. They don't break down. They work in any environment. The Delaney medic swam away in her water suit, clearly thinking the humans were crazy. Dong Ho was setting up communication equipment. The aliens had quantum communication systems that could talk across the galaxy instantly. Dong Ho was installing old-fashioned radio equipment. Why are you using such primitive communication method? He asked a Quilith observer. Our quantum systems are much more advanced. Plasma interferes with quantum states, Dong Ho explained. Your fancy quantum communications get scrambled by the fire energy, but radio waves can punch through almost anything. He showed the alien his radio setup. It looked old and simple compared to the sleek alien equipment. Radio waves are tough, Dong-ho said. They're like rocks thrown through a window. Quantum communications are like soap bubbles, pretty, but they pop easily. The Quileth observer flickered with confusion and floated away. While his team prepared their equipment, Taemin studied everything the humans knew about similar situations on Earth. He read reports about forest fires, oil rig explosions, and volcanic rescues. Every firefighter on Earth knows the basic rule, he told his team. You don't fight fire with technology alone. You fight it with understanding, planning, and the willingness to take calculated risks. He pulled up images from Earth's worst fire disasters. Look at this oil rig fire in the Gulf of Mexico. The advanced foam systems failed. You know what finally put it out? Old-fashioned water sprays and a crew willing to get close enough to aim them properly. And this forest fire in California, Sora added. The million-dollar aircraft couldn't reach the hot spots, but ground crews with simple tools saved the town. The key is adaptation, Woojin said. Complex systems can't adapt quickly. Simple systems can be changed on the fly. As they worked, more and more aliens came to watch. They looked at the human preparations with amazement and disbelief. They are removing all the good equipment, one Vorthak whispered to another. They are intentionally making their mission more dangerous, a Delaney observed. This confirms our assessment that humans are not logical, a Quileth concluded. But the humans continued their preparations. They tested every piece of equipment. They practiced their procedures. They planned for every emergency they could think of. Remember, Taemin told his team, we're not trying to impress anyone. We're trying to save lives. If simple methods work better than complex ones, we use simple methods. The aliens think we're crazy, Sora said. Let them think that, Hyejin replied. Crazy sometimes works when logical fails. Finally, their preparations were complete. The human rescue shuttle sat in the hangar bay. It looked rough and simple, compared to the sleek alien ships. Its ceramic heat shields were scarred and patched. Its radio antennas stuck out like old-fashioned TV antennas. Its medical supplies looked like something from a first aid kit. Are you sure about this? Krextal asked as he inspected their shuttle. This equipment looks very basic. Basic equipment has saved more lives than fancy equipment, Taemin said. Sometimes the simplest solution is the best solution. Fluxara rippled with concern. If you fail, you will die. Your families will never see you again. If we don't try, 847 families will never see their loved ones again, Dong-ho said. That's not acceptable. Voltan flickered nervously. We have calculated the probability of success. It is less than 12%. Then we'll be part of that 12%, Woojin said confidently. The aliens shook their heads, tentacles, and energy forms in disbelief. These humans were going to attempt a mission that advanced alien technology had failed to complete, and they were doing it with equipment that looked like it came from a junkyard. Launch when ready, Krextal said finally. We will monitor your progress from here. The human team climbed into their shuttle. As the hangar doors opened, they could see the burning planet below. Orange and red flames covered most of its surface. The plasma fires reached up into space like grasping fingers. Everyone, ready? Taemin asked from the pilot's seat. Ready, his team replied. Ways work better than the new ways. The human shuttle dropped toward the burning planet like a stone falling into hell. Orange and red flames covered the surface below them. The plasma fires reached up into the sky like giant hands trying to grab their small ship. Beginning descent, Sora announced from the pilot's seat. Her hands were steady on the controls, but sweat dripped down her face. The temperature inside the shuttle was already rising. On the space station above, the aliens watched the main screen with horror and fascination. The human shuttle was flying straight into the plasma firestorm. They are going to die, Fluxara whispered through her translator. Their heat shields are already glowing, a Vorthak engineer reported. The ceramic tiles are turning white hot. But something strange was happening. Instead of cracking like the crystal shields had done, the ceramic tiles were bending and flexing. They glowed like hot coals, but they held together. How are those primitive tiles surviving? Krextel asked in amazement. Wu Jin's voice came over the radio from the shuttle. Ceramic can bend. Crystal can only break. Sometimes flexible is stronger than hard. Sora began her real flying now. Instead of trying to punch straight through the firestorm like the alien ships had done, she followed the thermal currents. She rode the hot air like a surfer riding ocean waves. The shuttle danced through the plasma fires in ways that made the alien pilots gasp. When a massive updraft of superheated air rose from the planet's surface, Sora caught it and let it carry them higher. When downdrafts of cooler air plunged toward the ground, she rode them down like slides. Impossible, breathed a Delaney pilot. No one can fly in those conditions. She's not fighting the fire, observed a Quilith navigator. She's working with it. The shuttle spun and twisted through the plasma storm. Sometimes it flew upside down. Sometimes it spiraled like a leaf in the wind. But always, Sora kept it moving toward the mining complex below. It's like dancing with a tornado, Sora said over the radio. Her voice was calm despite the incredible forces trying to tear their ship apart. As they got closer to the planet's surface, Dongho began trying to contact the trapped miners. The alien rescue teams had been unable to reach them because the plasma interfered with their quantum communications. But Dongho's simple radio equipment worked differently. "This is human rescue team calling trapped miners," he broadcast on the emergency frequency. "Please respond if you can hear this message. The plasma fires created huge amounts of electromagnetic interference. The alien quantum systems had been scrambled by this interference, but radio waves were tougher. They pushed through the interference like a hammer breaking through glass. For a moment, there was only static. Then, through the crackling noise, came a weak voice. "Hello? Hello, is someone there? This is Mining Supervisor Namsu. We can hear you." The aliens on the space station looked at each other in shock. For 3 days, they had been unable to contact the miners. The humans had done it in minutes. "Namsu, this is Human Rescue Team," Dongho replied. "How many people are with you? What is your situation?" "There are 847 of us still alive," Namsu's voice said through the static. "We're spread across different levels and sections. Some tunnels collapsed when the Delaney tried to cool the fires. The plasma is spreading down the main shaft. We don't have much time." Hyejin immediately began organizing the medical response. "Namsu, this is the rescue medic. How many injured? How many need immediate medical attention?" "Maybe 200 injured," Namsu replied. "Smoke inhalation mostly. Some burns. A few broken bones from the tunnel collapses. We're running out of clean air." "Help is coming," Hyejin promised. "Stay calm and keep everyone together." The shuttle reached the mining complex. The buildings were surrounded by walls of plasma fire. The main landing pad was covered in flames that burned at over 3,000 degrees. "No way to land on the pad," Sora reported. "The fires are too intense." But Taimin had studied the mining complex layout. "There," he pointed to a spot on the scanner. "That maintenance area behind Building C. It's in the shadow of the main structure. The plasma fires might be weaker there." Sora guided the shuttle toward the maintenance area. The plasma fires reached for them like hungry monsters, but the thermal currents carried them through the worst of it. The shuttle touched down on the metal platform with a loud clang. Around them, walls of orange fire rose up like a burning maze. "We're down," Taimin announced. "Beginning rescue operations." The team put on their protective gear. It was much simpler than what the aliens had used. Just basic fire suits with breathing equipment. But the suits were designed to work in extreme heat, and they were flexible enough to allow quick movement. "First priority is establishing an air supply for the miners," Hyejin said, as they prepared to leave the shuttle. "Second priority is medical aid for the injured. Third priority is evacuation." They opened the shuttle door. The heat hit them like a physical blow. Even through their protective suits, they could feel the incredible temperature of the plasma fires. But they had come too far to stop now. Wu Jin led the way to the mine entrance. The main shaft was filled with smoke and glowing embers. The plasma fires were spreading downward like a slow river of destruction. The fires are moving down. The shaft at about 10 feet per hour, Woo-jin reported. We have maybe 6 hours before they reach the deepest levels where most miners are trapped. The alien rescue teams had tried to fight their way down the main shaft. They had failed because the shaft was too hot and too dangerous for their equipment. The humans tried a different approach. Service tunnels, Taemin said, pointing to a smaller entrance. Every mine has them. They're used for maintenance and ventilation. They might be cooler than the main shaft. It was dangerous. The service tunnels were narrow and dark. If there was a collapse, they could be trapped. But it was their best chance to reach the miners. One by one, they entered the service tunnel. Their simple radio equipment let them stay in contact with each other and with the shuttle. The tunnel was hot and filled with smoke, but it was passable. Their ceramic suits protected them from the heat. Their simple breathing equipment worked perfectly. This is crazy, Sora's voice came over the radio. She was staying with the shuttle to keep it ready for evacuation flights. You're walking through hell itself. Hell is where people need rescuing, Taemin replied. They reached the first group of trapped miners. 23 people huddled in a small chamber, their faces black with smoke, their eyes red and watering. You came, Namsu whispered in amazement. You actually came. Hyejin immediately began treating the injured. She used her simple medical supplies, oxygen masks, clean water, and wet towels. The wet towels worked exactly as she had predicted. When placed on burns, the water evaporated slowly and cooled the damaged skin. This feels amazing, said one injured miner, as Hyejin placed a wet towel on his burned arm. Better than anything we tried. While Hyejin treated the injured, Woo-jin set up emergency air supplies. He used mining equipment and simple human technology to create air purification systems. They were basic, but they worked. Fresh air, another, miner said, breathing deeply for the first time in days. Real fresh air. Dong-ho established communication links between all the trapped groups. His simple radio network let miners in different sections talk to each other for the first time since the disaster began. Section B, this is Section D, came a voice over the radio. Is everyone okay down there? We're alive, came the reply. The rescue team is here. They're actually here. On the space station, the aliens watched the rescue operation with growing amazement. The humans were doing things that should have been impossible. They were working in conditions that had defeated the most advanced technology in the galaxy. How? Are they surviving down there? Fulton asked, his energy form flickering with confusion. Their equipment is so simple, Krextal said. But it's working. Perhaps, Fluxara said slowly. Simple is not the same as primitive. In the mines, the human team moved from group to group. They treated injuries. They provided air supplies. They gave hope to people who had given up hope, but the hardest part was still ahead. They had to get 847 people out of the burning mines and up to the shuttle, and they had to do it before the plasma fires reached the deepest levels. The real test was just beginning. Part 5. Recognition and Respect. The evacuation began immediately. The human team had located all 847 miners, but getting them out would be the hardest part. The plasma fires were spreading deeper into the mines every hour. We need to move fast, Taemin told his team over the radio. The fires are moving down the main shaft faster than we expected. Woo-jin was setting up evacuation routes through the service tunnels. These tunnels can handle maybe 20 people at a time, he reported. It's going to take multiple trips. Then we make multiple trips, Hyejin said firmly as she helped an injured miner to his feet. We don't leave anyone behind. The first group of miners began their journey through the service tunnels. They moved slowly because many were injured or weak from breathing smoke for 3 days. The humans helped them every step of the way. Stay low, Dong-ho instructed the miners. The air is cleaner near the floor. Hold on to the person in front of you. Don't let go. It was like a chain of people moving through a burning maze. The miners held on to each other as they crawled through the narrow tunnels. The humans guided them, encouraged them, and helped them when they stumbled. On the space station, The aliens watched with growing respect and amazement. They are evacuating people through service tunnels, a Vorthak engineer observed. We never considered that approach. Look at their organization, Fluxara added. Every human knows exactly what to do. No confusion, no wasted time. The first shuttle load reached the surface. Sora was waiting with the engines running. She helped load 20 injured miners into the rescue shuttle. Hold on tight, she told them. The flight to the space station will be rough, but we'll get you out of here. The shuttle lifted off through the plasma fires. Sora used the same technique that had worked before, riding the thermal currents instead of fighting them. The miners watched through the windows as walls of fire passed by just meters away. Incredible, whispered one miner. She's flying through hell like it's a normal day. The shuttle reached the space station safely. Medical teams were waiting to help the rescued miners. But Sora didn't stay to rest. She immediately flew back to the planet for the next group. Back in the mines, the situation was getting worse. The plasma fires had spread further down the main shaft. Some sections were becoming too hot to reach safely. Section F is cut off, Dongho reported. The service tunnel is filling with smoke. We can't get through. There were 73 miners in Section F. They were the deepest in the mine, and the plasma fires were almost at their level. We need another way, Taemin said. He studied the mine layout on his simple computer tablet. What about the old mining cart tracks? They run parallel to the service tunnels. Those tracks haven't been used in years, Namsu said. They might be blocked or damaged. Sometimes old ways work when new ways fail, Woojin said. Let's check them out. The mining cart tracks were narrow and dark, but they were clear. The humans realized they could use the old mining carts to move people faster. Brilliant, Yejin said. We can load injured people into the carts and push them through the tunnels. It was dangerous work. The humans had to push the heavy carts through hot, smoke-filled tunnels. But it worked. They could move more people faster than walking evacuation lines. Load after load of miners reached the surface. Sora made trip after trip through the plasma fires, never complaining, never hesitating. Shuttle run number 15 departing, she announced over the radio as another group of miners lifted off to safety. But time was running out. The plasma fires had reached the deepest levels of the mine. The air was getting hotter and more dangerous, every minute. Final evacuation, Taemin announced. Section F, last group. 34 miners plus our team. This was the most dangerous run yet. The section was almost surrounded by plasma fires. The heat was so intense that even their protective suits were struggling. Temperature readings are off the charts, Woojin reported. His ceramic suit was glowing red hot. Our equipment is at its limits. We're not leaving anyone behind, Taemin said firmly. That's not how humans work. They loaded the last 34 miners into mining carts and began the final journey to the surface. The tunnel walls glowed with heat. Embers fell from the ceiling like fiery rain. One miner collapsed from heat exhaustion. Hyojin immediately cooled him with wet towels and gave him oxygen. Stay with us, she said. We're almost out. Another section of tunnel began to collapse as the plasma fires weakened the support beams. Woojin quickly propped up the ceiling with mining equipment. Go, 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 he shouted as the miners ran through the dangerous section. They reached the surface just as the deepest mine sections exploded in a cascade of plasma fire. The entire underground complex became a furnace of impossible heat. Last shuttle departing, Sora announced as she lifted off with the final group. The planet below them was now completely covered in plasma fires. All 847 miners were safe. 0 human casualties. In the space station medical bay, the rescued miners received treatment. Many of them were crying with relief and joy. Others just sat in amazement that they were still alive. They came for us, one miner said to his family over the communication system. When everyone else said it was impossible, the humans came for us. They never gave up, said another. Even when it looked hopeless, they kept working. In the main council chamber, the alien leadership gathered for an emergency meeting. The rescue statistics glowed on the main screen. Vorthak rescue attempts. 3 days, 0 miners saved, 2 ships damaged Delaney rescue attempts. 2 days, 0 miners saved, 3 ships damaged. Tunnel collapses caused Quilith rescue attempts. 1 day, 0 miners saved. 1 rescuer nearly killed human rescue attempts. 8 hours, 847 miners saved, 0 casualties. The silence in the chamber was complete. Finally, Krextal spoke. His crystal voice carried new tones of respect and humility. "We were wrong about humans," he said. "We measured your technology and found it lacking. But we failed to measure your determination, your adaptability, and your refusal to abandon people in need." Fluxara's blue form rippled with what might have been admiration. "Your methods seemed primitive to us, but primitive methods succeeded where our advanced systems failed. There is wisdom and simplicity that we had not considered." Voltan flickered with patterns that translated as deep respect. "We assumed that newer technology was always better than older technology. You have shown us that sometimes the old ways work when the new ways do not." Taimin stood before the council, still covered in soot and sweat from the rescue mission. His team stood beside him, tired but proud. "Every species brings different strengths to rescue operations," Taimin said, with quiet dignity. "We learned from watching your attempts. Your failures taught us what not to do. Perhaps next time we can work together from the beginning." "Yes," Krextal said immediately. "We propose joint human-alien emergency response protocols, with humans taking lead roles in extreme environmental rescues. Our technology combined with human methods," Fluxara added. "Together we can save more lives than either of us could save alone. We have learned that courage and determination are technologies, too," Voltan said, "and humans have mastered those technologies better than any species in the galaxy." 6 months later, human emergency response teams were deployed across the galaxy. They worked alongside alien partners, combining human adaptability with alien technology. The phrase human-style rescue became famous throughout the galaxy. It meant taking on impossible missions with simple tools, stubborn determination, and the absolute refusal to give up when lives were at stake. Other species still had superior technology. Their ships were faster, their weapons more powerful, their computers more advanced. But when disaster struck and people needed saving, everyone called for the humans, because humans had proven something important. Sometimes the most advanced technology in the universe is the willingness to risk everything for strangers, combined with the wisdom to know that simple solutions often work better than complex ones. The galaxy had learned to respect humanity, not for what they built, but for what they were willing to do, and that respect was earned one rescued life at a time. Q. End.